Hi everyone, and welcome to the first video in our EB-2 NIW series. If you are a professional, entrepreneur, or someone with strong experience in your field and you are exploring a US green card option, this video is a good place to start. So we're going to walk through the basics of EB-2 NIW, what it is, who may qualify, and how the process works. So let's start with the basic meaning of EB-2 NIW. The EB-2 NIW is an employment-based second preference U.S. immigrant visa that grants eligible professionals a direct pathway to a permanent resident card. So that means the EB-2 NIW is a green card pathway for qualified professionals or entrepreneurs whose proposed work can provide meaningful benefit to the United States. So why are a lot of people choosing the EB-2 NIW? It's because one of the biggest benefits of the EB-2 NIW is self-petitioning. Self-petition means you can file your petition independently. You do not need a U.S. employer to sponsor you. You also do not need perm labor certification because in the standard employer-sponsored process, your employer has to go through the perm process before your immigration petition can move forward. EB-2 NIW bypasses that step. Another benefit is flexibility. So after you obtain your green card, you are not tied to one specific sponsoring company in the same way as a traditional employer-sponsored case. But of course, you have to remain consistent with the professional field and proposed work presented in your petition. So who is EB-2 NIW for? Because it skips the traditional labor certification process. The EB-2 NIW is a favorite route for these following categories of applicants. So you could be an entrepreneur or business owner, researcher, or academic. And the EB-2 NIW could be for any professional working in areas with economic, social, educational, scientific, or cultural value. So at BSB Con, we have worked with EB-2 clients across many different fields. One of our approved green card clients in the past had a petition centered on specialized vehicle maintenance and technician training. We have also worked with STEM professionals, including engineers, data analysts, and AI and machine learning professionals. Then we also had cases, business-focused cases, including a business executive whose proposed endeavor involved career coaching and mentorship. And then another one whose work focused on digital marketing consultancy for underserved business communities in the US. So the point here is that the EB-2 NIW is not limited to one profession. Your job title is not the only thing that matters. What matters is whether your work has a clear proposed endeavor and a meaningful connection to a U.S. benefit. So later, we're going to discuss what a proposed endeavor is and what the USCIS looks for in determining whether your work has a broader value to the United States. So what must an EB-2 NIW petition prove? At the high level, your petition must prove two things. First, you must qualify under the EB-2 category. Second, you must qualify for a waiver of the job offer and labor certification requirement. So that means that the EB-2 and NIW are separate requirements. So the EB-2 requirement focuses on your qualifications. It asks whether you have the required education, the experience, and expertise to qualify under the EB-2 category. The NIW requirement focuses on the waiver. So remember that in the standard employer-sponsored case, you need to have a U.S. employer sponsor or a specific job offer. So with the EB-2 NIW, you are asking the USCIS to waive those usual requirements. So a simple way to understand it is this. The EB-2 asks, are you qualified? The NIW, it asks is your proposed work important enough to the United States that the USCIS should allow you to bypass the job offer and perm labor certification requirements? So these two are separate but very important components. And for example, you meet the EB-2 requirement. So meeting the EB-2 requirement alone does not automatically mean that you qualify for NIW. You still need to show that your proposed work has value, that it has broader importance, and that you are well positioned to advance it. So let's start with the EB-2 requirement first. So you may qualify under EB-2 in two ways, either through the advanced degree route or the exceptional ability route. So let's talk about the first route. So under this route, you may qualify if you have a U.S. advanced degree or a foreign equivalent. Now, if you do not have a master's or if you do not have a PhD, you may still qualify under the advanced degree route if you have a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of progressive post-baccalaureate experience. So take note of the term they used here, at least 5 years of progressive professional experience. So progressive experience means your experience after earning your bachelor's degree should show growth in the same field. It should show that your responsibilities became more advanced over time. So for example, if you are a graduate or you graduated with a nursing degree, your 5 years of experience should generally be in nursing, healthcare, clinical care, healthcare administration, or a closely related field. And it should also show development in that field, such as, for example, you moving from being a staff nurse to a senior nurse, a charge nurse, or a clinical coordinator, or another role with a higher responsibility. And then take note also that if your degree was completed outside the United States, you need a foreign academic equivalency evaluation. So for example, we had a client from Zambia. She earned her bachelor's degree in the Philippines, and then since the degree was not from a U.S. school, we included her diploma, transcript, and credential evaluation to show the U.S. equivalent of her degree. So that evaluation helps USCIS understand whether your foreign degree meets the EB-2 education requirement. So if you cannot meet the EB-2 requirement through the advanced degree route, another path is the exceptional ability route. So exceptional ability means you have expertise significantly above what is normally found in your field. So to show this, you must meet at least, at least 3 of the listed criteria. So the first criterion is your official academic record related to your field. This could be your degree, diploma, certificate, or transcript. The second is at least 10 years of full-time experience in the field. So take note of the word full-time. It has to be 10 years, at least 10 years of full-time experience. So your experience should be related to your proposed endeavor. For example, if your proposed endeavor in the US is related to home care services, your full-time work experience should show work in healthcare, caregiving, home care operations, patient care, or a closely related area. So it cannot be completely unrelated. The third is professional license or certification. The fourth is salary, showing exceptional ability. So for this, you can compare your salary or compensation with market wages for similar professionals in your area. The fifth criterion is membership in professional association. So for example, if you are an engineer, this could include membership in an engineering association such as IEEE, but take note that it won't be enough to simply say you are a member. You also need to show what the association is, how membership is granted, and whether the membership reflects professional achievement or expertise. The sixth criterion is recognition for achievements and significant contributions. So maybe you have awards, certificates, or major publications about your work, or maybe you received recognition from your peers or government entities or business or professional organizations. So these are the 6 criteria. If you have strong evidence that does not fit neatly into any of these 6 categories, the USCIS also allows comparable evidence when the listed criteria here do not readily apply to your occupation or expertise. So that means you can also submit other types of evidence that can demonstrate your exceptional ability. Now, if you meet the advanced degree or exceptional ability route, that means you have satisfied the EB-2 requirement. But remember that EB-2 eligibility is only the first part. So for EB-2 NIW, you also need to meet the NIW requirement, and this is where your proposed endeavor becomes very important. So remember, the NIW is the waiver part. You are asking USCIS to allow you to bypass the usual employer-sponsor process. So to support that waiver, you need to explain what you plan to do in the United States, why that works matter, or why it has broader value beyond your own career, and who will benefit from it. So this is what we call the proposed endeavor. It's your proposed work that you plan to pursue in the United States. So your proposed endeavor is not just your job title. For example, it wouldn't be enough for me to just say that I am an expert in this field, or that I am a consultant, I am an advanced healthcare professional. I also need to show the actual work, the project, the business, or the professional activity that I plan to pursue in the United States. That's what we call the proposed endeavor. So this is why the proposed endeavor is one of the most important parts of the EB-2 NIW petition, because it is the foundation for your NIW argument. So now you're probably wondering, so how is the USCIS going to evaluate the NIW part? So for EB-2 NIW, the USCIS uses what we call the three-prong test. So the first prong asks whether your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance. So take note, this prong has 2 parts. Substantial merit means your work has value. It can have value in business, healthcare, education, technology, public welfare, culture, or another important field. So for example, if your proposed endeavor is related to property tax compliance, you need to explain why that work matters. Maybe there are compliance issues, administrative backlogs, financial losses, or inefficiencies affecting not just property owners but local governments and businesses. So you cannot just say, I want to provide property tax consulting. You need to explain the problem your work addresses. Then the second component of prong 1 is national importance. This means that your work needs to have broader importance beyond your personal career or direct clients. So your work should have a benefit that can extend to a broader industry or a market or community or population. It does not always have to affect the entire country, but it should show broader implications. So going back to our example, if your work is in property tax compliance, national importance could be shown by explaining how better compliance supports government revenue or reduces disputes, or it helps property owners and local communities manage tax obligations more accurately, and this in turn affects the entire US economy. So this prong needs evidence. You can use government reports, industry reports, market research, peer-reviewed articles, and other reliable sources showing that the problem exists and that your work addresses a real need. So that's prong 1. Prong 2 asks whether you are well positioned to advance your proposed endeavor. For this, it's not enough to repeat the same evidence you use for your EB-2 requirements. So maybe you have already established that you are a professional with years of experience, you have licenses, you have certificates There's a lot of publication mentioning your work. You're a member of several organizations. Those can help, but prong 2 asks a more practical question. Do you have what it takes to actually carry out the proposed work? So, if, for example, your proposed endeavor involves starting your own company in the US, you need to show more than your professional background. So, you can show financial capacity, market research, relevant partnerships, clients, contracts, letters of intent, or other support showing that your business can realistically move forward. So USCIS is not asking you to prove that you have already completed every part of your endeavor. It's not asking you to do that, but you need to show a certain amount of preparation or credibility and a realistic ability to advance the work that you are proposing under your EB-2 NIW petition. The third prong asks you to explain why your case should not proceed through the normal employer-sponsored process. So for example, if you are an entrepreneur starting your own business, requiring a job offer from a US employer will not make sense because your proposed work depends on you building and operating the business yourself. If you are a researcher or an independent professional or a consultant, your work might involve serving multiple organizations, communities, or clients instead of working for only one employer. So, taken together, the three prong asks three main questions. Prong 1, is your work important? Prong 2, are you prepared and capable of doing it? And then prong 3, would the US benefit from allowing you to pursue it without the usual employer sponsorship and perm process? So take note that for the NIW, for the EB-2 NIW, each prong must be supported by clear explanations and evidence. So this is one of the main things that we always emphasize for EB-2 NIW petitions. Evidence, evidence, evidence. So every claim you make in your petition should be supported by verifiable documents. It's not enough to simply say that you're qualified, that your work is important, or that you have made significant contributions in your field. You need to actually prove it. So for example, we had a client, an EB-2 NIW client, who is a bioethicist from Tanzania. She had lots of peer-reviewed publications as the lead author. So part of the evidence package we prepared for her was including her Google Scholar profile, her citation metrics, and copies of her published articles. So that helped show that she had written, not only that she had written scholarly work, but that her work had been cited and recognized by other professionals in her field. So the same idea applies to other types of evidence. If you claim to have business traction, then you must show contracts, invoices, revenue records, client records, or analytics. If you claim recognition, then maybe you have some awards, certificates, media coverage, or letters from credible individuals. So for EB-2 NIW, your petition should not just explain the case, it should prove the case. That's why evidence is very, very important for EB-2 NIW petition. So for typical timelines, EB-2 NIW timelines vary. So the first stage is generally the case preparation, where you gather your evidence, you prepare your petition, you organize your package. So for many cases, this can take around 2 to 6 months, depending on how ready your documents are. The next stage is the Form I-140 adjudication. So standard USCIS processing can vary, but premium processing for EB-2 NIW, it has a 45 business day time frame. Then the third stage is visa bulletin. So even let's just say, for example, that your I-140 is approved, you still need to check whether an immigrant visa is available for your category and country of chargeability. If your priority date is current, you can move forward to the green card stage. If your category is backlogged, then you need to wait until your priority date becomes current. So for EB-2, NIW, some countries are current at certain times, while countries like India and China have longer backlogs. Now, the last stage is a green card stage. If you are in the US, this is usually through the adjustment of status or AOS. If you are outside the US, this is usually consular processing through a US embassy or consulate. So these are just general timeline estimates. Your actual timeline can be shorter, it can be longer depending on your country of chargeability, USCIS processing, visa availability, your evidence, and your specific immigration history. So our key takeaways for this video for EB-2 NIW, you have to qualify for EB-2 and National Interest Waiver. To qualify for EB-2, you need to show either an advanced degree or exceptional ability. To qualify for NIW, you need to show that your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance, that you are well positioned to advance it, and that waiving the job offer and labor certification requirement will benefit the United States. So, in short, EB-2 NIW is not just about your credentials. It is about connecting your qualifications, your proposed work, and your strong evidence into one clear case. So if you found this video helpful, watch out for our next videos where we will go deeper into the EB-2 NIW petition structure. At BS Beacon, we help clients with the full EB-2 NIW petition support process, from case strategy to developing your endeavor statement, preparing your professional plan or business plan, organizing exhibits, and making sure that your petition package is clear, consistent, and evidence-based. So if you need support with your EB-2 NIW petition, feel free to contact us at BS Beacon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.